Hello guys, and welcome to another episode of Plastic Models by a Regular Dude. Today I am going to talk about my M group build, Steve Mottram's M group build. For those of you who don't know, Steve Mottram, great guy. He's got his own YouTube channel, and he has started a group build called the M group build. And basically what it boils down to is you have to have the letter M for Mottram somewhere in the description, model number, or whatever of what you want to build. And in this case, M4A3 Sherman with T34 Calliope. This is the Academy kit, and it is kit number 13294. It's a nice kit, and I looked around. I didn't really see any, reviews on it, so I'm going to do kind of a brief review. I'm not going to get into a whole lot of detail because honestly, if you've seen one review, you've really seen them all, unless you're talking about specifics. And I'll keep it brief. But this is the vehicle I've chosen to do. Originally I was going to do it as kind of a tie-in with my grandfather's military service, like what I've done with some of my other, like the M4A3 Easy 8x Tamiya, the new toolkit. I did that as a tie-in with my grandfather's service. I built it as in one of the divisions and tank battalions that supported my grandpa's infantry regiment during World War II. And I was going to do that with this because there are photos of the T34 Calliopes in support roles in some of the books I have about the 76th Division, my grandfather's division, but they are different vehicles than this. This up here is the same, but one is an M4, like an early M4 with direct vision slots, and the three-piece. I think it had a cast housing in the front, but then one of the other ones was an M4A1, which is the cast superstructure, had the three-piece transmission cover, so it doesn't match this at all. So in doing a little research online, and once I get into the build on this, like whenever I start this on the 23rd, which is when this group build starts, I will have bought ink for my printer, and I'm going to print out a photo of this actual vehicle. The photos of this vehicle are almost identical to what you see on this box art. Same kind of angle, the only difference, there's a lot of stowage and stuff on the front, and I'm going to replicate that. So anyway, that'll come later, but for now, let's take a look and see what's in this box. It's got pictures around the outside, blah blah blah. Nobody wants to see that. Let's see. Nice sturdy box, which that may sound dumb, but I like the fact that it's a box that the lid lifts off and you can have your stuff inside of it and not worry about it falling around. The end opening boxes, like on the BF 109 G10 from Revell, they open on the end. I can't stand that, so I taped it up and made a flap because it's just not very convenient when you have to take stuff in and out of a box like that, and I like to keep my work area neat. The usual paperwork comes with it. Instructions. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the instructions because these are, for me, this is a unique situation. So what we have is the instructions for the Sherman with Calliope, with T34 Calliope. So it just, like you see it here, typical instructions. Okay, not going to go through all of them. Many of you have seen instructions before, beginners. It's if you're watching this, it's real basic. Gives you pictures on how to assemble the parts, where to paint things, and so on. So I'm not going to go over these instructions in detail. There are different kinds of options depending on what vehicle you're doing, all that. As you can see, there's some call-outs for photo etch parts. We'll get to that later, but again, they're just instructions. But, and here's where it differs. Okay. This right here, this little portion here seems to be an addendum to this kit. And some of the instructions, some it's weird because some of the illustrations are super crisp, others are kind of blurry, like they were taken from something else. On this kit, the actual rocket launcher portion originally came from a 1/35 scale Italeri kit, if I'm pronouncing that right. Okay. The tank itself is Academy, so it's kind of combined together. On the turret, because this is an original turret from the Academy kit, it had no accommodation for the rocket launcher system, so they've added this here that you need to cut the mounting hole, which is 2 millimeters by 4 millimeters, 3 millimeters up from the bottom, 32 millimeters from the front. You have to cut those into the side of the turret however you can in order to mount the rocket launcher. And I've seen some reviews written reviews online, like from forums and such, where it's kind of difficult, and some people have even come up with a completely different way of installing this thing. So this shouldn't be an issue, and I will be going for that to make sure it works right, and it shouldn't be a problem. So with that, you get to the end of the instructions, which is manual 1, which ends here and starts here with the rocket launcher system. Down here it shows manual 1 with an arrow going to manual 2 with this handy translation from Korean, I guess, which says to be continued manual second time. So that must mean go on to the second manual, which is this right here, and this shows how to finish assembling the rocket launcher, very PE, and where to attach it to the turret, how to put the machine gun together, which you really don't use on this vehicle because the rocket launcher is in the way, and then the final assembly here of the turret with the rocket launcher onto the rest of the vehicle. Okay. So that's it, and this is the vehicle I'm going to be doing, U.S. 12th Armored Division, Flétrange, France, March 1945. But that's what I'm going to do because I have a good photo reference for that. So that's the instructions. A little bit different in that they've combined the instructions for 2 different kits. Now, the first item is the tracks. And they are of the vinyl / plastic, whatever they are, and they're actually molded quite nicely. They really look good. The detail's good on them, and there's not much in the way of wonkiness about. There's like some little nipples on the tread every so often, obviously from where the material was injected into the mold, but it's not too bad. And there's a pretty bad sinkhole right here. So I was originally going to use some aftermarket tracks, and if I can find some relatively easily and they don't cost more than the kit, I may do it anyway. But these tracks, the outer edge detail and the inside detail is very nice, and since the photo I'm going to be replicating, there's a lot of clogged mud inside of the tracks. So, I'm going to check and make sure these chevrons are shaped correctly and all this kind of stuff. And if it looks like it'll be okay with all the mud caked on there, I might go ahead and use these. Haven't really decided yet, but I'll get back to that. As far as the plastic itself, you got the hull here, and you got some weird circles on here. I don't know what those are, but those are going to have to come off. I don't know why those are there. If anybody has any ideas, please let me know, because it doesn't look like, I mean, I've never seen a Sherman tank with that on the hull, which is sad because it's got nice rivet detail underneath this edge here and everything else. I don't know what the deal is. Good detail underneath, which doesn't matter to me because it's not going to be flipped over. Then we have the sprues themselves, and I'm cutting this open for the first time. So Steve, you're watching this, which I hope you are. It's the first time they've been opened, so I didn't start the group build prematurely. We got cable ends, small fittings, toe shackles, some packs, looks like fuel caps, tools. All of it has been finely molded, looks really good. Again, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on all these parts. The hatches, commander's hatch for the top, very nice detail on the inside, except there's some pretty gnarly what you call ejector pin marks on the inside, but those should be easily fixed. But the detail looks good. The springs, the assist springs for the hatch are nice. It's got nice casting number detail on the top. I didn't know they actually had that on hatches, but it's kind of nice. Same with the mantlet in the front. The turret itself, nice cast texture going on. Looks good. Let's see, then we got another small sprue here. There's actually quite a few parts to this kit. We've got, looks like spare bogies here, spare track links, more small fittings, you know, toe clevises. Got some fuel cans, canteens. All of it is molded nicely. Spare tracks, again, that's kind of lame because I'm not really going to be able to use these, because it's got these are really deep ejector pin marks. Then this is kind of nice too. I didn't notice this the first time I looked at it, but there's all kinds of bolt and rivet and letter and number detail on these parts right here, so that can come in handy in the future. And it's kind of funny because this particular sprue right here is labeled M10 GMC, so that's obviously from an M10 kit, but it looks like it's just the accessory, so I guess it should be okay. That's weird. Weird. That's labeled Sherman. I'm going to take a look at this from here on out, because that's this one's labeled Sherman Series. Two different kinds of shovels, different kinds of tools. That's kind of interesting. Sledgehammer with the head exposed and with it in a holder. Interesting. Then we get to the bogey parts. Has nice cast texture there. Casting marks, identification numbers, and so on. The fenders are nice, and they're beveled, so when they're installed it gives you a nice, you know, thin edge to look more to scale instead of being so thick looking. The exhaust cover there, so that looks good. Another small sprue here. More small parts, and let's see, yep, more small parts here. Ammo cans, machine gun barrel, all kinds of small fittings going on there, all nicely molded. And the important thing is all of, you know, any ejector pin marks and the like are on the insides where they don't matter. Everything. And looking at the parts, there is no flash so far that I can see. And the molding seams, I can't really see any of those either. So it should be fairly easy to clean up. It's supposed to be a good kit. So now there's an ejector pin mark on this padded area of the inside of the hatch, but it's super shallow, and that's kind of a rough area, you know, because it's supposed to be like a leather, you know, cushion pad, so the commander didn't bonk his head. So if I model it open, it'll be really easy to clean that up. On this part, on this looks like the loader's hatch, the ejector marks here are raised, so those should be very easy to clean off, and there's no detail around it, so it should be easy to clean. Periscope swivels, all these small parts, these periscope guards, they're pretty small, so they look like they're in scale. This part is actually labeled 2003, so this is obviously, you know, older moldings, and it's very, looks like the molds have held up well. Even these really tiny springs right here, the edges, there's the seam line on the edges is almost non-existent, so it should look good. Let's see. Here we get to the wheels and suspension and the string for the tow rope, which a lot of people don't like the string for the tow rope, but if it's, you know, decent nylon string like this seems to be, looks like a little bit fuzzy. It just looks good. Once it's painted, it seems to be a little more scale, and it looks more like a wire rope to me than just some wire twisted together. So I don't have a problem with that, but I may change that. Then we've got two different kinds of, this one's dated 99, and it looks good as well. You got the final drives up here, open spoke wheels, the pressed steel wheels. I'll be using the open spokes because that's what the particular vehicle I am modeling used, and it'll be nice because I'll have a whole lot of extra stuff, but everything looks good there. Another 19, well, this is the same thing here. More wheels. The wheels, the pressed steel ones are two-part. They all look good. Drive sprockets look good, and it looks like there's two different types of drive sprockets you can use, you can model. So I'll have to look at my reference to make sure I use the right one. Then we get to more of the drive sprockets, more small parts, spring, hatch assist springs, and that one's bent, so careful with that, like that. There we go, fixed. So that looks good. I should have done this from the get-go, but I'm going to put this down here to give it some contrast so you can see a little bit better. Another hatch, this one without the pad, so I'm gonna have to see which one, this particular, I haven't gotten it detailed. This one's actually labeled Super Sherman, so I'm thinking I'm only going to be using a few of the smaller parts off of this for the particular vehicle I'm doing. Some of the parts are, like, you know, interchangeable. I'm gonna guess that the hatches probably won't be used. This is probably a later hatch. It's you know, labeled Super Sherman. This one's actually dated 1997, so this is a sprues from a bunch of different time frames, so that'll be kind of interesting. And then we have this one here, which is dated 2006. fenders here are fenders and well, fenders that go along the edge of the vehicle, and the supports for like an Easy 8, which I'm going to assume would have been the Super Sherman version of this. Engine deck parts, so there's going to be a lot of spare parts. 2 different travel locks. Yeah, we got a lot of extra parts here. This one dated 2006, like I said, so that's interesting. And then we get to the rocket launcher parts. Plastic's a little bit different color gray. Nicely molded. Springs are really nice. Not too much weirdness going on the side. As far as the springs go, a little bit of cleanup and that should be okay. The connection between the barrel and the rocket launcher right there, that's got a little bit of seam issue going on. I have to clean that up. But the tubes themselves don't look bad. I'll just have to be careful and figure out a way to clean up the inside edge of each one of the tubes so it doesn't look like, you know, a seam running down the inside. But the detail's nice. The linkage here, pretty finely molded. Looks good. The back, I'll be adding the wiring harness for igniting the rockets. No date on that, so I don't know when that was made. But that's the artillery part right there. And then we've got small photo etch for the brush guards. So the guards for the lights, and then part of the linkage for the connection between the barrel and the rocket launcher for elevating the rocket launcher, and the decals. So that's pretty much it. The only other part is this one right here, which is the receiver portion of the M250 caliber machine gun, and it's got some really nice detail going on there. Hollowed out cooling sleeve there, so that looks pretty good. There's a weird like sink mark there, but overall that looks pretty good. So that's it. That is the Academy M4A3 Sherman with T34 Calliope that I'm going to be building for the M group build. So I plan on doing a build vlog on this, kind of going step by step, not real lengthy stuff, just basically talking about, you know, it going together, and if there's anything weird that a person should look out for that might be helpful for anyone building it in the future, I'll be doing that. But it's not going to be just real detailed and meticulous and talking about every little aspect. You know, if it goes together easy, then I'm just going to say it goes together easy. But you know, if I can drop any hints or advice for any beginners or anybody that might run into a problem, I'll do that. But anyway, that's it. That's the my entry for the M group build, and stay tuned. Coming up around the 23rd or shortly thereafter, I'll be getting a little bit more detail, show the photograph of the actual vehicle that I'm wanting to build. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching Plastic Models by a Regular Dude, and I will see all of you later.